Okay, we're now live on YouTube.
Okay, welcome everyone to this licensing subcommittee hearing, 10 AM, and we are live streaming on YouTube. The first item on the agenda is the appointment of the chair. So could I just ask members, someone to propose and hopefully second, someone to chair the meeting, one of the members, please?
I'd like to propose Councillor Rosemary Bolton as chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Simons. And is that seconded by you, Councillor Reid?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to second that.
Okay, fantastic. That will be carried then. Chair, if you want to take it from here, thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Perhaps we could start by making the introductions. I'm Councillor Bolton and I'm a councillor for Hertford, Kingsmead Ward. If my colleagues could introduce themselves, it would be three of us on the panel. Councillor Simons?
Yeah, I'm Councillor Norma Simons and I'm from Bishop Stortford Central Ward. Councillor Reid?
I'm Councillor Stephen Reid. I'm Ware Trinity and also District. Thank you.
Thank you. Democratic Services, please.
Hi, morning everyone. I'm Will, I'm the Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you. And our legal representation, please.
I'm Victoria Wilders, Legal Services Manager.
Right. And licensing, please.
I'm Brad Wheeler. I'm the Senior Licensing and Enforcement Officer.
Right. We also have some other councillors in the meeting. Councillor Andrews, perhaps you could introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor Andrews and I'm just here observing.
Thank you. Councillor Page.
Good morning. My name's Councillor Tim Page. I am a councillor representing Silverlees Ward, in which one of the applications rests. I'm here as an interested party, having made a written representation to the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Perhaps you could go on mute. Thank you. We've got no other councillors. Then we have interested parties. We have two applications. The first is for Tesco Bishops Park. Who will be talking on behalf of that applicant?
Hi, Councillor Bolton. It'll be me, Hardish, that'll be doing the bulk of the talking for both of the applications.
Right, and who have you got with you then, please?
I have got Jonathan Mattei, who's the store manager for Bishop Stortford, and Jack Wild, who's the store manager for Hertford.
Thank you. And then we have representation from, so Councillor Page will be making representations for the Bishop Stortford application. We've got a representative here at Hertford Town Council.
Good morning, Councillor Bolton. I'm Nick Kirby. I'm the Civic Administration Manager representing Hertford Town Council.
Thank you. I think that covers everyone. We have got Dimple. Do you wish to introduce yourself? You're on.
Hi, I'm Dimple Roopchand. I'm part of the Legal Services team and I'm observing the meeting today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we've covered everyone, haven't we? So apologies for absence. I don't think we have any, do we, Will?
That's right, Chair. Everyone's present.
Thank you. So if we could, if anyone is not talking, please could you go on mute? And any interested parties should, on whichever agenda item we're on, should have their cameras on, please. Then I need to read this legal statement. The local authorities and police and crime panels, coronavirus, flexibility of local authority and police crime panel meetings, England and Wales, regulations 2020, came into force on Saturday, the 4th of April 2020 to enable councillors to hold remote committee meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic period. This was to ensure local authorities could conduct business during this current public health emergency. This meeting of the licensing subcommittee meeting is being held remotely under these regulations via the Zoom application and is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Right, I have no further chair announcements. Moving on to item 4, declarations of interest. I need to make one for myself. It's a non-pecuniary declaration of interest. I am a councillor on East Herts District Council, but I am also a Hertford Town councillor, and Hertford Town Council have made representations on the Hertford Tesco application. I do not sit on the planning committee who have made these representations, nor have I been involved in any of the representations or comments made pertinent to the application. So I'm making that application, I'm making that declaration of interest that I have had no involvement in them. I have cleared that previously with the Democratic Services team that I am cleared to sit. Have we got any other, are you happy with that, Victoria? Or do I need to say anything else?
Yes, Chair, I'm happy.
You're happy with that. Councillor Page, are you putting your hand up to speak or are you adjusting your screen?
No, I wish to speak, to declare that I am a trustee of Bishop's Park Community Centre Trust, which provides a community centre adjacent to the supermarket in Bishop Stortford. I have no direct personal pecuniary interest.
Thank you, Councillor Page. That can be minuted. Any other declarations of interest, pecuniary or non-pecuniary? If anyone has any questions or points, that they put up their hand so that we can see it visibly on the screen, because there are so few of us on here. Thank you, rather than using the side function. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 5, summary of procedure. These are on pages 7 to 14 of the meeting papers. If anyone's got any questions, now is a good time to raise them. Otherwise, it's all self-explanatory and normal for all meetings. Thank you. And we'll move on to agenda item number 6, which is the application for a variation of a premises licence for Tesco, Bishop's Park Centre, Lancaster Way and Bishop Stortford. Brad, you have written the report from the licensing perspective. Would you like to talk to that first, please?
Thank you. Good morning to you all. Contained in the papers in front of you is my full report outlining an application for a variation of a premise licence under Licensing Act 2003, Section 34. My report can be found between pages 15 and 31 of the agenda pack. As you've already read this report, and the company documents, I shall give a brief summary of the application and the representations received. On the 8th of February 2021, an application to vary a premise licence was received from the applicant Tesco Stores Limited in regards to a premises Tesco Bishop's Park situated on Lancaster Way, Bishop Stortford. The proposed application seeks the approval to vary the current premise licence by extending the supply of alcohol to 24 hours a day and to amend condition 1 of Annex 3 to read barriers in the car parks to be closed from store close and checks will be made with this. The application can be found in Appendix A, which is between pages 33 to 54. Regarding the steps to promote the licensing objectives, the applicant has stated a number of steps which can be found in Appendix A or on paragraph 3.6 of my report. The steps to promote are that there shall be a staff training programme, use of digital CCTV with images to be available for 21 days and be fully operational and maintained whilst the premises is open for any licensable activity. A member of the management team shall be on site at all times whilst the premises is open. That the company will actively seek to be a good neighbour to the local community. There shall be operating and use of Think 25 with till prompts. During the 28-day consultation period, the applicant agreed further conditions with Hertfordshire Constabulary. These conditions can be found in paragraph 3.7 of the report. These modified the CCTV conditions to 31 days and to ensure staff were trained in use of the CCTV. There should be use of challenge 21, which is the same as Think 21, and conditions around that. They've added a incident book or electronic log relating to any drug, violent crime, serious antisocial behaviour, and security to be employed at the premises following a risk assessment, and a record of the dates and times and SIA reference of each security member. The premise licence holder or DPS will take reasonable steps to ensure that no open vessels are consumed outside the premises or in the car park, and take reasonable steps to ensure that groups of people are not loitering around together or outside of the premises. During the 28-day consultation period, 4 representations are received from interested parties. These can be seen in Appendix B, which is between pages 57 to 52 of the agenda pack. The representations from the local councillors engage the prevention of public nuisance and the public safety licensing objectives, with representations from residents engaging in prevention of public nuisance and the prevention of crime disorder licensing objectives. There has been no representation from any responsible authority. In relation to the crime disorder licensing objective, it should be noted that the police have been consulted upon the application and have agreed conditions with the applicant as such that the police are satisfied that this objection would not be undermined. The report looks at East Hart Statement of Licensing Policy, the revised guidance under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, and provides information submitted by the applicant and the interested parties making the representation. The subcommittee should determine the application with a view of promoting the 4 licensing objectives. The determination for the application, in determining the application, the licensing subcommittee should consider if they believe the applicant has provided evidence that the licence, if granted, would promote and not undermine the licensing objectives. This evidence should be balanced against the evidence given by those making representations in that the licensing objectives will be undermined. If members believe that the application would not undermine the licensing objectives, then the application should be granted as requested. If members believe that there is evidence that in granting the licence this would not promote the licensing objectives, then it is within your remit to take whichever action you believe is appropriate and proportionate to address your concerns. Members can attach conditions or take any steps that they believe is appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, including limiting of hours for licensable activities, or if there is no steps, then you may refuse the application in its entirety, but this should be the last resort. The subcommittee's determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, and be proportionate to what it is intended to achieve. That completes my report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brad. Right, we're going to move to questions on the report. So these are the questions on the report from the licensing report. Have my colleagues got any questions for Brad? Please. Councillor Simons, have you got any questions? Councillor Reid is shaking his head. Councillor Simons? No. I've just got one question, Brad, which I'm hoping you're going to be able to answer. If not, we can ask it again of the applicant. You mentioned in paragraph 3 about the lifting of the barriers. Can you confirm whether that is something that comes under our remit, or is that a planning condition?
As I understand it, it's ultimately is a licensing condition, okay, but it may also be a planning condition, in which case, should that wish to be carried out, then obviously a planning, the planning will also need to be modified. But
Okay.
we're looking at it from the licensing perspective. So from the license, yes, it can be removed or changed.
Okay. But if there's a planning condition in addition, that would have to be applied for separately.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, no other questions from my colleagues. So, and so the applicant, I don't know, Hardish, are you speaking on behalf of everyone? Do you have any questions for the officer, please?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any responsible authorities present. Any other parties? Councillor Page, do you have any questions for the officer, please?
Yes, Chairman, if I may, and I may have missed this in the papers, for which I apologise, but can I have some clarification as to whether this application covers both the supermarket and the petrol filling station?
Just for the supermarket.
Okay, thank you. There were representations made by local residents, but they don't appear to have attended the meeting. So we will move on and then move on to the applicant. So Hardish, you're doing the talking here, are you?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Chair.
Right, over to you.
So good morning, everybody. So this application is to extend our current licence to a 24-hour licence, and I'll kind of go on to give you the reasons why we want to do this. So if I tell you a little bit about Tesco, so we've got 2,800 stores across the UK and employ over 280,000 staff. We have two main formats, so our large format and our convenience format. And this store, Bishop Stortford, falls within the large format, and it's the larger end of the large format. So you have Superstore and an extra, and this is an extra. And the store sells a wide range of goods and groceries, and alcohol is a part of the overall. It's a small but essential part of the service that we provide. Jonathan, who's on the call, is an experienced store manager. He's been with Tesco's for 16 years and at this store for 6 months. And Bishop Stortford store employs 425 staff and 18 managers. So we take great pride in having a good neighbour policy that's kind of already been mentioned by Brad, and it's really a part of the heart of what we do in the community. So if I start with kind of the charitable things that we've done in the Bishop Stortford Hertford area, we've contributed to the Compassionate Neighbours Community Cafe, the Bishop Stortford Food Bank. There's Bishop Stortford Youth Project, which provides support for 90 vulnerable and disadvantaged children. We've also contributed to YOPI, I think it's called, which connects the old and young to combat loneliness. So within the Bishop's Stortford and Hertford area, we've contributed £450,000 to 190 different groups, and an additional 110,000 through the community food connection that we have. Locally, being kind of a part of the good neighbour is also working with residents and the police, not only to support any issues, but to actually prevent any issues from arising in the first place. And I just speaking to Jonathan, we haven't had any issues that we've had from the police or the residents that have been brought to our attention. And actually, should anything come up that we're not aware of, then we would be happy to kind of join any resident groups or have meetings with anybody that wants to bring anything to our attention, so we can support what's going on in the area. On a kind of national level, we again take great pride in being a responsible retailer of alcohol. There's a central licensing team that will support the stores in issues that may come up, and that can be anything from football matches that are in the good old days that used to happen, and we were asked by the police not to sell alcohol for the first hour, or an hour before the match and an hour after the match. We've taken part in numerous kind of initiatives like that, as well as what's going on more recently in Bristol, unfortunately, where we've taken the initiative, and the police have actually thanked us, but they haven't asked us to stop selling alcohol, but we've made the choice either to restrict at certain times and then stop selling alcohol completely, just looking at what's going on outside of our stores. I chair the Retail Alcohol Standards Group, which also looks to drive good practice and standards across the industry. And we also include independent retailers, so smaller groups. It isn't just about the big stores getting together and looking at what standards we should have in how we sell alcohol, but also looking at what independent retailers are doing. As a part of that, we've been involved in community alcohol partnerships, which is around looking at known areas where underage drinking is going on, and working with key stakeholders to actually provide those children with diversionary activity, so moving them away from drink, and again very much led by the retailers and local authorities. So if I talk a little bit about the training that our teams have in the store, our training has been endorsed by what excellent looks like by the British Institute of Innkeepers, and we will train on alcohol sales when our colleagues first join us, and then when they go on to their departments as well. And then after that, we train as a minimum twice a year. We do refresher training on alcohol sales and age-restricted sales training. The key thing underlying all of that is that we empower and encourage our colleagues to make the right decisions with what they have, with what's going on in front of them. And we have what's called a you say no, we say no policy, which if a colleague makes a decision not to sell alcohol to somebody because they think they're underage, or they can't provide their ID, or they think they're drunk, then a manager won't overrule that decision, and they will support our colleagues in that. We were the first operators back in 2004 to have an age verification policy of Think 21, and then a few years later we moved on to Think 25. And Think 25 is a very embedded process within the industry now, and we ask our cashiers to kind of stop when alcohol is scanned and assess the age, and then ask for ID, and then check that ID. And of course, there's only approved ID that we will use that's been approved by the Home Office, so the 4 standard ones. They're also given training on group scenarios as well. So there's a number of role plays in the training. So what would a cashier do if a group of youths kind of turned up wanting to buy alcohol and one was paying? They all have to be asked for ID. And again, that support is given by the managers in the store. And again, all of that is now kind of driven into an industry standard. And then one of the reps kind of mentioned somebody that was already drunk. Again, our cashiers are trained on what to spot when it comes to someone that's drunk. And again, we go back to that if they decide they don't want to make a sale, then our managers will support the cashier. We also have a till prompt on our checkout. So when you scan alcohol, then basically the checkout freezes and you can't go any further until you can't scan anything else. So that till prompt has a date of birth, which makes it easier for the cashier to check the date of birth on their ID. And there is a positive action. So they have to then say whether that customer is over 25, and if they need to check for ID, again, there's a date of birth there, and then they have to press yes or no onto a checkout to then release that sale. If it's a no, the cashier keeps a hold of the alcohol. If it's a yes, we carry on with the transaction. Moving on to, we also give our team security training as well. Something it's called Eyes Wide Open. So I know there was a sort of around the public safety and theft. So we focus our security training on alcohol and also what to look for around it. You know, if somebody's behaving suspicious, and then what support they can get from again the store management team. Within the store, we have cameras that are linked to what we call the hub, which is it's a great huge office in Daventry where all of the cameras are monitored by operators. So we don't just rely on what's going on in the store. We've got kind of external view on what's going on in the store. The alcohol is tagged as well. So some of the key lines are tagged. We have security gates as well that will go off if these tags haven't been taken off. Our teams, when they go for breaks or they go home, are encouraged to go through what we call red routes. So they will walk a route of where, for example, down the alcohol aisle too. We have security guarding in the store, and that guarding is done on a risk assessment. So we take the local crime figures as well as any incidences in the store, and that determines the amount of guarding hours that we have. So in terms of our kind of working with the police, they would usually make us aware of any issues. I haven't had any issues been made aware to me about some of the issues that have been raised through the reps. I'm not aware of any antisocial behaviour. If there was, we do deal with it. We've got expertise within the office as well who can support the store if any of that can come up. The police have looked to, or they've kind of agreed conditions with us of what they wanted on the licence, and we're happy to accept those. There was an issue around litter in the reps as well, and we have housekeeping within the store, and the car park is cleared every day and more often if it's required, but we don't find alcohol litter or broken glass as was suggested, and those are always good signs to look out for, to kind of know what's going on in the car park if it's something that our security guard doesn't get to see. We've got bins outside of the store, and it's in our interest to kind of keep the Tesco air, to keep the car park and everything tidy and free of litter, because it's all a part of our branding too. So in terms of why we're applying for the increased hours, I guess that the initial thing is that customers have been asking us for there are times when we're open and we're not selling alcohol, and they've been questioning why we're not doing that. I guess with it's more prevalent now because actually with everything that's going on with COVID, we want people to come in, do their shopping trip all in one go, rather than have to come back at a later time. I mean, in the past, when we've needed extra hours over at Christmas or Easter, we've applied for a TENS, and we've never had a TENS refused or the police kind of raise any issues. The majority of our large format stores have a 24-hour license, so this store is unusual in that respect, that it doesn't have that. We're not expecting to sell huge amounts of alcohol during this extra time. In fact, it's going to be less than 0.5% of our sales. It's going to be a very small amount. However, it's a key element that, you know, that will then ask. It's more around convenience. I guess it's kind of, it is purely for convenience, and I guess I would now just hand over if there's any questions that anybody has for myself or Jonathan. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to.
Thank you. Does Jonathan Mattei wish to add anything or not?
Hi, sorry, I was on mute there. No, nothing else to add. I think Hardish has put in a really thorough summary there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Either of my colleagues got questions, please?
I haven't got a question, Chairman, but it slipped my mind because we haven't done it for about 2 years, but I'm Vice Chairman of the Bishop Stortford Food Bank. It's obviously non-pecuniary, but I thought I just ought to mention that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But have you any questions on the representations made by the applicant?
Yes, it's about saying that the residents, there's no problems with antisocial behaviour, but in fact we do have letters from 2 residents, I believe, saying that there has been problems with pot plants being kicked over, with eggs being thrown at houses, and various other things. I don't know whether you've seen those letters or not, and also from Councillor Page, who's the local member. And I know it's not in the town centre, but there is quite a lot of residential properties round there, and they're struggling at the moment with people parking on their roads because they don't particularly want to go into the Tesco car park because it can take ages to get in and get out. And I'm very concerned that the barriers are going to be raised. The reason they were put down was because of mainly young men doing, excuse the expression, donuts in your car park and causing an absolute nuisance. I wonder if you can answer those questions. I'm sorry, I put 3 into 1.
Would you like me to answer those now? Oh,
yes, please.
I haven't gone on me. I guess the barriers have been in the, and that's probably prevented anybody that, and the barriers. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure they will have gone on to prevent exactly that kind of a scenario. But we haven't had any of those issues raised, and definitely if there was a breach of a licensing condition where I guess the barrier hadn't gone down, that would land firmly at my on my table, on my desk. So I am not aware that anything like that has happened recently, and we're not talking about kind of removing the barriers or not putting those down once the store is closed. That should still still be as it stands, and we shouldn't be getting any boy racers, if you want to call them, in our car park doing donuts. And then the other issues about the eggs and the pots, I'm really sorry, I haven't been made aware of those, although they're in the reps, but if there is anything that we can kind of do to support local residents to prevent that kind of thing happening, then absolutely we will. So, for example, because you might think, what can we do when we have thousands of customers kind of come through our door every day? But if we know who the culprits are, we could, if they're damaging and causing antisocial behaviour in the area, and the police let us know who they are, we can ban them from our store. So they won't be able to buy anything from our store. But actually, you know, it has it all come from, you know, has it all come from us? And is it because, you know, have they bought the alcohol from our store to then get drunk to behave like this? Or, you know, I don't know what's causing it, but we will help in any way that we can. Was there a third question in there? Sorry, Councillor Simons, have I missed one?
Yes, it was about the residential. We do have a lot of residential properties round there, and also there's a new development across the road as well, known as Bishop's Stortford North. And I'm just wondering, you know, what you can do to stop people parking all over the place. And also, there's, even if the barriers are up, there's also a gate that comes through from the main road, and people can just walk through, so they don't necessarily need to come into the car park.
Okay, I'll have a again, I don't know the ins and outs of why that gate is there, but I can certainly have a look to see if that you know, I'm not promising anything, but it might be that we could lock that gate, but I don't know whether we can. And then in terms of the parking, I guess this might be something that we just need to work together with. If you know, maybe it's something that we work together with the police, or, you know, if there's something again we can do to help to prevent people from parking there. Jonathan, I don't know whether you know any more about the parking issues.
Hi, yeah, we only seem to have some sort of parking issues when we're quite busy on a Saturday, but even so, that's quite rare for us to run out of car parking spaces.
Can I ask a supplementary, please?
Of course.
Yes, it's not running out of car parking spaces, Jonathan. Thank you for your answer. It's people who don't want to go into the car park that are causing the problems to local residents, but also people that are walking to the store were causing problems as well. And that's where the pots were being broken, eggs thrown at you know, houses, and youth walking or to Tesco's all hours of the night. And you stop being open 24 hours a day. I don't know whether, I don't shop at Tesco's because it's out of town, but I don't know whether you've gone back to 24-hour opening or not. Perhaps you could answer that question.
No, we're not 24 hours at the moment.
So if you're not 24 hours, why do you need a 24 hours liquor license?
We have the, I guess we have, our trading patterns do change. So we're not 24 hours. There aren't any plans at the moment to go 24 hours, but we do, we may do over Christmas and other busy trading times as well. And like I said, it's unusual for us to, the trading times will are kind of separate to licensing hours, and we have the ability to be able to go 24 hours, I guess, whether we have a 24-hour license or not, which is what's happened in the past. But there aren't any plans at the moment to go 24 hours. But we, you know, I guess it's to not have to put a temporary event notice in over the Christmas period when we want it, and over Easter.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman. No more questions.
Before I come to you, Councillor Reid, following on from that question, what about the Sunday trading laws?
Yeah, yeah, of course. We would never. We're not going to, you know, Sunday trading laws. We can trade for 6 hours, but again, it's the flexibility of being able to move the hours around. So again, what we found with COVID was that we ended up having to apply for 10s for a couple of hours, or if we wanted to kind of move the trading time around, we wouldn't supersede the 6 hours that we're trading. We couldn't do that.
But what you've got a license for at the moment is already longer than the hours.
Yes.
You can open.
Yes. Yeah.
But
That's
you
right.
still want it increased to 24 hours?
Only just, it's just, I guess it was just simpler on the license to just go 24 hours. Like I said, naturally, we will never go over the 6 hours anyway. So even if we did get a 24-hour license for a Sunday, then we would never go over the 6 hours. But we just have the flexibility to be able to move them.
So you want it for the flexibility and the licensing. Sorry, I'm trying to find it in the paperwork here. That's why I'm flicking between two screens. So at the moment, your license for a Sunday is, I'm trying to get there, is,
I think it's at 10 till 6. 10 till 6.
Brad, is it 10 till 6 you've got at the moment?
Yeah.
And at the moment, your opening hours on a Sunday are
10 till 4, are they, Jonathan?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Reid, sorry to interrupt you. Any questions, please?
Thank you. Are you likely to be selling alcohol at the premises outside?
No. Sorry, when you mean outside, what do you mean? As in outside of the building?
In the premises of Tesco's. Yeah, in the premises of Tesco's, are you likely to be having a little marquee and selling it directly outside? It's actually all happening inside.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one of my questions. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Not for me.
Pressing the wrong button. Right. Yes, I have got a couple of questions, please. Go to my annotations. On page 17, this is 3 point. You say that a member of the management team will ordinarily be on the premises at all times that the store is open, and that person will have responsibility for the premises whilst the premises are open. So who is responsible if a member of the management team isn't on the premises?
There will always be there's always a manager. There will always be somebody that will have that delegated authority, always.
Okay, right, thank you. And you mentioned the training, which was very interesting, and thank you for doing that. And it's good to hear that there's a refresher. Is that covering all staff?
Yes.
So all staff. So
yes,
every single person on the tills will have been trained and be receiving refresher. Anyone who might be selling alcohol or with the sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone. Brilliant, thank you. And so I asked you about the hours, and yeah, the other thing is the security, because in your representations you said that you have a what did you say? I've got it written down. You do a risk assessment and you determine through local issues what your guarding hours are. Now, it's obvious that you don't think there are issues, whereas local residents do from their representations. So what sort of guard or SIA security have you got in place? I mean, how many are you going to have at any one time?
So if I tell you what we've got currently, currently we've got, I mean, I talked about the that's one, that's just a couple of the overall, but a store this size will have guarding, and currently we've got guarding from 7 o'clock till 11.
7 to 11, is that one person?
Is that, Jonathan, would you be able to answer that?
Really?
Correct, yes, that's one person.
That's one person. So that's one person to deal with any issues that arise within the store. And if something else happens while that security guard is dealing with that issue, what happens about that? It's just not covered?
We have, so all the guard is kind of the visible deterrent, I guess. but actually all of our managers will have a higher degree of security training. So if the guard is busy dealing with somebody else, it doesn't mean that that security kind of stops in the store. It would just mean that somebody else would be looking out for what's going on, as they would do, because the one guard can't be everywhere.
Well, they must be entitled to breaks as well,
yes,
under employment law. Yes.
Yes.
So while they're on a break, there's no one covering, or you're relying on managers to be around? What happens?
Jonathan, can you answer that?
Yeah, what we do at the moment is another colleague will just cover the security guard. Like Hardish was saying, if anything was to happen, they'd make the managers aware immediately. If it was something extremely serious, we'd obviously just call the police.
Right. Now, I'm not from Bishop Stortford, so I don't know very well, but I have been to look at the store and the size of the car park, which is large. What happens if you've got antisocial behaviour going on in the car park? Because that's a lot of ground to cover.
Jonathan, do you want to just talk through the steps that you take?
Yeah, to be honest, we would just contact the police. I mean, normally, since I've been in the store, we haven't had any issues, but we would, from my...
months, yeah. That's 6 months you've been at the store, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
During lockdown, yeah.
So from my, experience, you would go and talk to them first to ask them to leave. And then if they refuse to do so, you'd contact the police. The police do respond pretty well for us if we do have any issues for Tesco. Yeah, that's what we'd do on that occasion, really. Obviously, we'd want to resolve it as quick as possible.
Right. But if you're late at night, you've got your license until midnight, you've got a group of people there causing a problem, you've got one security guard to cover the store and the whole car park, and if something kicks off, then you just call the police.
We don't forget, Councillor Bolton, we also have our management team as well. So the security guard would never, if there was something going on in the car park, we would never let the security guard go out there alone. It's just not safe to do. The managers would go with them, with that guard as well. And we would ask, if there's something going on, we would ask depending on what was going on, sometimes it is just kids not making a nuisance of themselves, but just hanging out. So depending, sometimes you can deal with it yourself and ask people to leave. Other times, we may need to involve the police.
Okay, how many managers do you say you have on duty at all times?
There's 18 managers in the store, but they wouldn't all be on duty, but they would cover so we've got a good section, a good number of managers.
So late at night, at moment you close at, is it 11? You close 10 or 11?
Is it
midnight? Yeah, we would have 3 managers.
You'd have 3 managers on at that time.
Yeah, then they'd work overnight.
Okay, right. And they're to cover the whole store and the car park. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then all the colleagues who are working overnight as well to ensure safety.
Right, okay. I think, given on everything you said, you answered my other questions, so thank you very much for that. Right, we'll move on to questions now from other people. Got no responsible authorities. Onto the ward councillor. Councillor Page, you're the only ward councillor on, aren't you? Would you like to ask any questions you have, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. First of all, if I could address to Hardish, you were pretty dismissive of my comments about litter and broken glass in the vicinity. Could I ask, have you or your manager from the Bishop Stortford store actually gone into the vicinity, inspected what is going on, and do you have an awareness of the littering that's taken place? From my part, I could dig out evidence of calls to the district council for them to come and tidy up and empty bins and tidy up where litter has dropped. So, you know, I'm not making this out of my imagination. It certainly has happened and is happening. I'm not quite understanding of your need for flexibility, for operational flexibility, to provide to require you to have a 24-hour license. I really think that's really over the top, and I'd be interested to know on a slightly wider scale within Bishop Stortford, as far as you know, how many facilities operate a 24/7 alcohol off sales facility? I don't think there's that many, if any. And that being so, why should it happen in a broadly residential area rather than a town centre area where the nighttime economy seems to do well, operating within itself rather than coming out into residential areas to provide a much wider catchment area than our town centre, your Tesco complex at Bishop's Park. What sort of anticipation do you have for your targeted catchment area compared with now?
Sorry, Councillor Page, you're slightly breaking up, so I think I've got the gist. First of all, I just wish to apologise because I absolutely did not mean to be dismissive of the litter in the area. I guess what I'm just saying is that where we check in our car park, we just aren't experiencing the same things. And you know, I haven't been to that store for a while. So I haven't walked around the area. Right? Again, Jonathan, I don't know whether you have done that.
So, sorry, Hardish, can you just repeat that? Sorry,
Yeah.
It's starting to break up a little. I don't know what's happened to the line there.
It was just Councillor Page asked the question whether we had kind of walked around the wider area rather than just our car park in terms of, like, you know, we weren't experiencing the same litter issues that he's experiencing, maybe away. Councillor, are you saying that it's away from the store car park?
Yes, it's away from the store car park. It's within, I would say, half a mile of the premises. It covers the upper part of Haddam Road, and it is more often than not badly littered. The littering does extend down further to the town, where people obviously are getting alcohol from somewhere. I can't prove that they're getting it from Tesco's, but they're getting it from somewhere in that Tesco region and walking down Haddam Road towards the town late at night.
Sorry, Jonathan, the question from Councillor Page was whether we had experienced any of the litter outside of the car park, whether you'd walked along the road into town.
No, I haven't, but I'll have a look when I'm in later in the week.
Anything else, Councillor Page?
Yeah, I was interested to know whether Bishop Stortford Tesco's, the large Tesco's, would really be in the vanguard of 24/7 opening compared with what's going on in the town, and querying whether the nighttime economy was based in the town or was moving out into the middle of a residential area. And I also made the comment that I thought one of the reasons for 24-hour licensing was to produce operational flexibility, which I thought was a very weak reason for. It might be very convenient to Tesco, but not a solid enough reason to inconvenience the residents who live around that store.
Okay, do you wish to make any comment or not?
I guess it's a convenience to our customers, you know, and that's the purpose of this application.
Okay. Yeah. Is that it, Councillor Page? Thank you. Have any of the officers got any questions they wish to ask?
Chairman, I've got my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realise. Would you like to come back then, Councillor Simons?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, one of the residents has written, live in Burley Avenue, and it says Tesco has no regard for their neighbours who are continually picking up litter dropped by their customers, including empty bottles and cans of alcohol. And about the parking, it's inconsiderate, it's illegal. This is where they're parking on the road, and it's been raised both with the council and Tesco's, and nothing is done. Now, we have policing priorities in all our towns now, and one of the ones that came up was some of the problems at Tesco's at Bishop's Park. I'm just wondering what you want to say about that. Thank you.
I guess the parking issue, we can work with the local council, and you know, whether we put notices up in our store and ask customers to not to park along there. There is enough spaces, as kind of Jonathan said, and people should be going round. But I guess it's I guess there's a bit more work to do there. So if that is an issue that's causing problems for the community, then you know, we can work with the residents to try and get, whether we get some kind of parking wardens out there, or sorry, traffic wardens out there to see if there's anything that can be done. But we can work with the residents to kind of put our support in for that.
I think what Councillor Simons wasn't talking about the parking, it was Bishop's Park, and the fact that the on page 61 it does say the resident says that it is the police have it as some of their neighbourhood policing priorities, the purse dipping in the Tesco Bishop's Park and phone theft in Tesco Bishop's Park as two of their policing priorities, which would indicate more of antisocial behaviour than you seem to realise.
Sorry, thank you, Chairman, for that. Can I just also pop in with, it shows Tesco's as the main source of crime on the Bishop's Park development, and increasing the time that alcohol is available is only likely to further increase crime. And that's from a resident. So in fact, as far as the policing map is, that Tesco's in Bishop's Park is coming up as red.
I think, you know, again, Jonathan will be able to talk about some of the issues that might be going on in the store, but from what we could tell and the conversation that I've had with the police, they didn't bring that up as an issue. Tesco is going to always, because of the high footfall and the concentration of people, there's always going to be above average, I guess, disorder in the area, because that's where the concentration of people are going to be. And everything, you know, sometimes it's not even related to Tesco. It could be there's been a fight in Tesco car park, but it kind of highlights it as Tesco. I'm not making excuses, but we will, you know, we'll support any initiative or anything that's kind of coming out from the police. We will support that.
Okay, thank you. I see that Victoria from Legal Services wishes to say something.
Yeah, I just obviously wanted to make the point to advise the committee that the police have not made any formal objection in relation to this application in relation to the crime and disorder point.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Simons, was there anything else you wish to add?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So do officers have anything else they wish to, any more questions or comments? Victoria, have you got anything else to add or not?
No, thank you.
No, Brad, have you got anything? No. Will, are you all happy there?
Fine, Chair, thank you.
Good, thank you. And we have got the representations from the local residents who could not attend, I believe, because of work commitments. But that will still be taken into consideration when we three make our decision later. There's no one new. Actually, the Councillor Cinnamon is new into the meeting, but he's with Hertford Town Council, so not with this application. So, any other parties who wish to say anything? Councillor, we haven't got other authorities. Councillor Page, do you wish to make separate representations? I know you've asked questions, but do you wish to say anything else, please?
All I would ask the committee to consider is how balanced or proportionate an increase to 24/7 licensing would be and needs to be in this location. Thank you.
Thank you. And there was again another representation from the other ward councillor, which we have in writing, that they couldn't attend. So are we all right to move on to closing statements? No one's objecting to that. Right, if we can move on to the closing statements, please. And the applicant goes last. Have we got, do we work from the ward councillor first? Will we work backwards?
Yes, it's other parties first, Chairman.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, Councillor Page, anything in closing, or is your last remark?
Well, thank you for your consideration of my submission. As I said earlier, I'm interested really in balancing the good to Tesco and the good to the residents who live around the supermarket. I don't find their arguments in any way convincing. I would very much like their good neighbour policy to extend to walking outside their compound for every now and again, every week, every fortnight, whatever, just to see the level of littering and inconvenience that's being caused by probably a very small minority of their irresponsible customers. But thank you very much for letting me speak. And I think that's all I have to say.
You're welcome. It's your right, Councillor. Thank you. Licensing, have you got anything to add, or are you complete? No, thank you. So, Hardish, the last word goes with the applicant in closing. So this is your opportunity. Thank you.
I mean, I presented a thorough, so I don't really have too much more to say. But just, you know, it's a well-run premises, and we always, you know, welcome any opportunity to work better, closer with residents, with any local groups, and you know, and hopefully, if that comes out of this, that will be really useful. I think there's been no objections made from the police, and weight needs to be given to that. They haven't objected to us to the 24-hour license. So there's a presumption under the Act. So there's not a presumption under the Act to restrict, and there should be good reasons or evidence of why you kind of wish to kind of restrict the hours. So you know, we're a good operator. It's a well-run premises, and we would wish that the committee grant the variation as it's been applied for.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we will need to retire on this before we can move on and make our decision before we moved on to the next application. So Brad, are you organising the breakout rooms?
Yes, thank you. That would be me. Just so it's noted, the 3 members of the subcommittee will retire with the Legal Services Manager, the Democratic Services Officer, and the Litigation and Advisory Lawyer, just for observation purposes. You'll all go into individual rooms. So if this all works, if you could just, if you get a message on your screen, you can click join, please.
Am I alone on this call?
And with the wonder of technology, we're back. Phew. That's a relief. That's a relief. So we just need other parties to come and join, please.
Yeah, I messaged Brad.
Yeah, well, Brad's here. He can see us. Thank you, Brad. You're muted, but we can still see you talking.
Thank you.
We'll miss Zoom meetings, won't we, when we stop?
All parties, all breakout rooms will be closing in the next 20 seconds.
Right, we won't do a countdown. I just can't wait for the hairdressers to be open. I'll be pleased to be able to see again. Right, have we got all the important people back with us? Hopefully everyone who needs to see can see. Woo, Hardish is doing some yoga.
I know. I don't know why it's gone a bit weird.
You're back with us some direction or other.
That's because of the gins I've just had.
You wish, you wish. Right, are we good? Everyone here, and everyone here, can everyone? Right, brilliant. Okay then. The licensing subcommittee have listened to the comments of the senior licensing and enforcement officer and the applicant, and the subcommittee have taken into account the concerns of the residents and the interested parties. Subcommittee have decided to grant the application subject to the additional conditions, and these are the additional conditions. Condition 1 of Annex 3, reading, barriers on the car parks to be closed from store close and checks to be made on this to remain in place. And secondly, licensed hours on Sundays are from 10 AM to 6 PM or 1800 hours. The subcommittee feels this is a balanced and proportionate time period to allow flexibility within the legal trading hours permitted under the Sunday Trading Act of 1994. In coming to its decision, the subcommittee believed that the applicant has provided evidence that the granting of the licence would promote and not undermine the 4 licensing objectives. The subcommittee has also noted the applicant's willingness to meet with local residents in an attempt to resolve concerns regarding parking and antisocial behaviour, and we would encourage this, and we would suggest something along the lines of a letter drop or perhaps monthly meetings within the coffee shop for local residents to voice any concerns. This decision will be sent to you in writing, and there is the right of appeal within 28 days to the Magistrates' Court.
Sorry, can I just correct that? It's 21.
21 days to the Magistrates' Court.
Thank you.
Okay. Everyone happy? Well, you may not be happy, but everyone understood that. I don't need to repeat anything. Oh, are we good? All right. Thank you. So that finishes that item agenda, which seemed a long time ago, but was item 5, I believe. So we're now, oh no, was that item 6? Now we're moving on to item 7, which is the application for a premises license for Tesco stores Ware Road in Hertford. That's starting on page 73 of the bundle. Right, fresh bit of paper. Off we go. Right. So, Brad, are you going to start off?
Yes.
With your report, please.
I'm just waiting on technology at the moment, and I'll be with you as quick as possible.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for the time there. Sorry about the delay. Good morning to you. Contained in the papers in front of you is the full report outlining the application for a variation of premise licence under Licensing Act 2003, Section 34. This can be found between pages 73 and 88 of the agenda pack. As you've already seen the report and the accompanying documents, I shall provide a brief summary of the application and the representation received. On the 8th of February 2021, an application for a variation to a premise licence was received from the applicant Tesco Stores Limited regarding their premises at Tesco Hertford, situated on Ware Road, Hertford. The proposed application seeks to vary the current premises licence by extending the supply of alcohol on Mondays, Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, and for a seasonal variation for 24-hour alcohol sales between the 13th of December and the 2nd of January each year. This is a 2-hour extension on a Monday morning, an hour extension on a Friday and Saturday evening, and a 10-hour extension on a Sunday. The application can be found in the Appendix A on pages 89 to 110. Regarding the steps to promote the licensing objectives, the applicant has stated a number of steps which can be found in paragraph 3.7. Again, this is very similar to the last application regarding to the use of a staff training programme, use of digital CCTV with images being available for 21 days and being fully operational and maintained whilst the premises is open for any licensed activity. A member of the management team to be on site at all times whilst the premises is open. The company to actively seek to be a good neighbour to the local community, and the operational use of Think 25 with till prompts. During the 28-day consultation period, the applicant again agreed conditions with Hertfordshire Constabulary. These can be found in paragraphs 3.8 of the report. These modified the CCTV conditions to 31 days and ensured staff were trained to use the CCTV system. Again, there's use of Challenge 25 and conditions around this. The addition of an incident book or electronic log for activities relating to drugs, violent crime, serious antisocial behaviour, and that the security be employed at the premises following risk assessment, and that a record of dates and times of the security officer and their SIA reference number to be kept at the premises. That the premise licence holder or DPS shall take reasonable steps to ensure that no open vessels are kept outside of, are consumed outside of the premises or in the car park, and they'll take reasonable steps to ensure groups of people are not allowed to loiter or gather outside of the premises. That barriers to the car park will be closed when the store is closed. During the 28-day consultation period, one representation has been received from an interested party. This representation can be found in Appendix B. The representation is from Hertford Town Council and engages the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. There have been no representations from any responsible authority. The report looks at the East Herts Statement of Licensing Policy and the revised guidance under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. The report provides information submitted by the applicant and the interested party making the representation, and the subcommittee should determine the application to view to promote the four licensing objectives. If members believe the application will not undermine the licensing objectives, then the application should be granted as requested. If members believe that there is evidence that in granting the licences would not promote the licensing objectives, then it is within your remit to take any action that you believe is appropriate and proportionate to address your concerns. Members can attach conditions or take any steps you believe is appropriate, which includes but not limited to limiting the hours of licensed activities. Or alternatively, if there are no steps that can be taken, then you may refuse the application in its entirety, but this should be as a last resort. The subcommittee's determination should be evidence-based, justified, as being appropriate for the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, and proportionate is what you intend to achieve. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got any questions from my colleagues on the report? No? Councillor Reid, you're unmuted. Have you got any questions?
I haven't, no.
No. Councillor Simons, you're muted. Are you?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Right. Thank you. There is on this. There is no application for the lifting of the barrier. The conditions on that that's correct, isn't it, for this application?
Yes, there's no condition regarding the barrier, so they've actually added this condition.
We've added it. That's good. Thank you. So we'll move on. Has the to the other parties. The applicant. Has the applicant got any questions? No, no questions. I can see you shaking your head. Thank you. The responsible. There have been no representations from the responsible authorities, have there? No. So the police have made no representations, and so we'll move on to the other parties, which is the Hertford Town Council. Now, I note that we've got the Civic Administration Manager, Nick Kirby, here, and Councillor Cinnamon, who chairs the Planning Committee, under whose remit these representations have been made. Who is doing the talking? I don't think both need to do. No, you came on loud first. Are you?
Yeah.
Are you making any comments?
I can introduce it.
Have you got any questions for the licensing? I have no questions. No, right. That's it. At the moment, it's questions. We're not moving on to your submissions yet. You will get your opportunity though. Thank you. And if we've got no other questions, we'll move on to the applicant and their opportunity. So, Hadish, over to you again. Thank you.
Hi. Can I just start by, a lot of it is going to be very similar to what I've already said for the Bishop Stortford application. Is there anybody new that needs to hear that again, or shall I do more of a summary, just things that are more relevant to the Hertford store?
Does anyone need any more detail apart from specifics for this store? Oh, thank you. And have you? So is it Jack Wild? You're the store manager for Hertford, are you?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, brilliant. Okay, well, just for Hertford then, please. Thank you.
Okay. So again, this application is to extend the licensing hours. We've consulted with the police and considered considered kind of the hours that they've provided for us. So this store falls into the large format again, but whereas Bishop Stortford was an extra, this is a superstore. So it's a smaller operation than our extra. Jack Wild, who you've just met there, again is an experienced manager. He's actually only just arrived at the store in Hertford. Before, he's been with Tesco's 5 years, and he's been an area manager for the convenience format for the last 4 years in Cambridgeshire and in the Hertfordshire area. This store has 150 colleagues and 10 managers that manage it. So again, it gives you a scale that it's a much smaller store. Again, similar things around the work that we do in the community and funding. So an example here would be where we've given charitable donations to Future Living in Hertford, which is a charity that supports domestic abuse victims. And then the areas then benefited from the same community food connection and the same, the 450,000 across the 190 groups have all kind of received donations. Again, the good neighbour policy applies, and again we've had no issues that have been raised by the police, and again if they're raised by residents and the police, the same applies. We'd be willing to work with any resident groups, and actually for Jack it would be a good introduction if there was a group that anybody's aware of that we can be involved in to kind of get to know the community a lot better. In terms of the training, again, everything that I've already said applies. With regards to the training, around Think 25 is operational at the store. We the differences with security is that the security guards have body cams here, and there's a gradual rollout of body cams going across the business. So it's not that this is any more of a difficult area than Bishop Stortford. It's just that there's a rollout program, and all our security team will be wearing body cams. And there's also a link to the town link radio. So we're also involved in that. This store has, similar to Bishop Stortford again, where we've got 40 cameras all linked into the hub. So it's another one that's kind of constantly being monitored. And I guess that Jack, is there anything that with regards to Jack, is there anything that you want to add to that that's more specific to the store?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered the vast majority over the description of the two stores.
Okay. One thing that I would like to add with regards to the kind of the 24 hours that we do live in a world where people's roles, jobs, they are shopping at different times. So sometimes there's an assumption that when you want to increase the hours, that there's only going to be a specific, somebody that's got problems with alcohol that wants to buy alcohol at 6 a.m, but that's absolutely not right, or 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever that is. That's absolutely not right. We live in a world where there's people shop and will do things at different times that suits their needs because of the shifts and hours that they work. And we saw that with the NHS. It was kind of brought to the forefront during the COVID time. So there is a growing need for us to be able to kind of meet the demands of the customers and kind of meet what they need. And I absolutely understand, around Sunday trading, that kind of regulations around Sunday trading, but actually, I guess the reason we apply for longer hours is if there is any deregulation at any point, we would have to come back and do another major variation. Would always go for Sunday trading laws, but actually if that was extended for whatever reason, then it gives us the flexibility to be able to have the same licensed hours. I guess they are the I don't need as long this time because I did quite a thorough submission previously. Is that enough, Councillor? Chair?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. We'll see if we've got any questions on that. Who wants to come through? Councillor Simons or Councillor Reid? Which of you'd like to ask questions first? Either of you? Neither of you?
I haven't got any questions on
no questions,
on
right?
this one at the moment.
Okay, not at the moment. You can always come back. Councillor Simons? Can't hear you. You're still muted.
Yes. Again, it relates to the residential part. Tesco's in Hertford, I drove over there yesterday because I don't know it as well as I know the Bishop Stortford store, but I noticed, in fact, it is surrounded by houses, and some of the gardens in one of the streets, I believe it's Villiers, as their back gardens actually back onto the store. And I'm just wondering what, you know, what you can do to mitigate the noise and everything else for these residents, because Blue Coach Yard, Blue Coach used to be a school, but of course it's businesses and it's also residential in flats. And then across the road, you've got more flats on top of buildings. And in fact, it is surrounded by residential areas.
Thank you for that. I guess we haven't had any objections, and again, we haven't had any issues where the residents have complained to us about anything. I think, in fact, Jack, we had a complaint about the vegetation, did we? Do you want to just describe? That's the only one that we've.
Yeah, I mean, despite being reasonably new to the store, we have a really strong and structured handover process between me and my predecessor, and you know, we talk frequently about neighbours and anything that, you know, myself incoming needs to be aware of, anything that's been agreed locally that will help become a better neighbour. The vegetation is the only issue that we have, which, Councillor, you're correct, there are houses that back onto our car park, and we've got vegetation and tree growth within our car park that can, when overgrown, move into our neighbours' residents. So, I mean, you know, we would manage that locally. We talk to our neighbours, and we would, you know, at the point they feel as though it's becoming an issue, we would get a contractor out to cut back and to obviously remove any debris that's fallen over into the garden, so that there's no inconvenience to anybody, as we wouldn't want to. And I guess to your point around noise, obviously, I know the barriers were discussed earlier. It's common practice in the store here that as soon as the store is closed, the barriers at both exits and the singular entrance to the store are closed to stop, you know, cars coming in. And I know on the Bishop Stortford store there was reports of donuts being sort of done in the car park, which can cause extreme noise for our neighbours. We don't get any of that because we lock the car park down at the point in which we are closed.
Can I ask a supplementary, please?
Carry on asking questions.
Yeah, you have a gate that comes in off the main, I think it's side of the Ware Road or the Hertford Road. Is that locked as well at night time?
No.
No, so that's open 24 hours a day.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that use the car park as a cut through from the train station to the rear of the site to the Ware Road at the front of the site. It would just be no entrance to any vehicles.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not at the moment, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Can I just ask about the opening hours and have those clarified, please, of the store?
That's 6 a.m. until midnight and 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. on a Sunday.
Okay. And at the moment you have, you've got the license on Monday from 8 a.m. till midnight, Tuesday to Thursday is 24 hours, and then Friday midnight till 2300, and Saturday 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. 2300. Is that right? Yes. Want to confirm?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm presuming, I don't know because I wasn't involved, that the 11 o'clock p.m., the 2300 on a Friday and Saturday, is probably a knock-on from the problems that Hertford has with the nighttime economy. Are you aware or not?
Yes, so we discussed the application with the police, and they came back with because we wanted a 24-hour license, and they came back with what they considered appropriate. So, and that's what we've gone with. So the hours that we've gone with are 6 till midnight on Monday, then 24 hours until Saturday, and then it's 4 a.m. till midnight on a Saturday, and then 6 till midnight on a Sunday.
Right.
They're the hours the police came back to us with.
Because there is a problem with the nighttime economy and the knock-on effect on as people move away from that late at night. Right. Then what was the other thing I was going to ask? I'm assuming the other questions I asked previously about are going to be the same answer, that you're always going to have managers in place and the training is for all staff. That's a standard Tesco situation, right? Thank you. Now, what about the security though? Is it the same that you've only got one security personnel on at all times?
Yes, and Jack, will you confirm it's 6 till midnight, our security?
It's 7 a.m. until midnight.
7, sorry.
Right, so at the same time the store is open, you've always got, but it's only one security officer there.
Correct.
Because the problem with the car park at the Hertford site is that it's an L-shaped car park. So down the side going towards the station, which has got a back gate in going to the station, that is not invisible eye line from the front of the store, is it?
No.
She could have antisocial behaviour going on down there and no one at the front of the store would be able to see that?
No, that's correct.
Right.
Although I don't think there isn't, is there any antisocial behaviour, Jack, in that space? Don't know whether you can answer that.
No, I've had a glance over last year's, in preparation for today's call, so last year's incident reporting system, and obviously the first 5 weeks of this Tesco year, and the numbers are very, very low for a size of its store, and antisocial behaviour is not one that crops up.
That's what you'd expect from the previous year. Everyone's been in lockdown for most of it. Yes, but remember. Previous to that, did you go back 5 years or anything? Or
yeah, look, it does a year-on-year comparison, and the store remains reasonably flat, where other shops did actually see quite an increase year-on-year. The store that I came from in Boreham Wood had some quite serious antisocial issues with the fact that, absolutely taking your point on board that we've been in lockdown, but remembering Tesco has been and has remained open at all times. So, we did see some issues with abuse to customers and colleagues from other members of the public. With that's not been seen and that's not reported in Hertford.
Okay, and the proximity to the station and Hartham Common?
Nothing from the reporting that I have looked at would indicate that, but equally from what I've experienced, ironically living local and now working in the shop for the past couple of months.
Okay, you live locally, do you?
I've actually just left, but I lived in Hertford for 2 years.
Oh, now you've moved out. Now you're a store manager in Hertford.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
it wasn't planned.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. I can see your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, I just wanted to remind the panel that there has been no evidence of antisocial behaviour in this scenario.
None has been submitted, you mean? Yeah. Councillor Simons, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wondered how you let the local residents know about your change in the licensing hours.
We don't, councillor. So it would, if we change our licensed hours, that we don't advertise the fact. It just kind of happens. So if somebody comes to a checkout with a bottle of wine, our tills won't restrict it, which is what they do at the moment.
Right. So in fact, none of the local residents would know that you wanted a change in your licensing hours?
Sorry, we wouldn't advertise the fact that, so if this was granted, we wouldn't advertise the fact that we can now sell alcohol at, I don't know, say 6 o'clock on a Monday morning. It's purely for convenience. But if you're alluding to advertising of the application, yes, I don't think there's any questions around that hasn't been done properly.
No, can I just come in and advise Councillor Simmons and the rest of the panel that it has been confirmed in the report that the application has been correctly advertised in the newspaper.
Thank you.
Acted upon as required by legislation and regulations, and that's paragraph 3.4 on page 74 of the bundle.
Okay. Councillor Simons, do you have anything else?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, do we have any questions from anyone else? Interested parties, Hertford Town Council, have you any questions for the applicant? No?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right,
You mentioned that
can we see you?
you can indeed.
Oh, I can see. That would be good. Thank you very much.
The question I've got is, I know you consulted with maybe the local police. Have you consulted with the British Transport Police? Because with the proximity of Hertford East Station, people tend to take their booze on the train and then cause public nuisance on the trains. So when you say that there's been no incidents, I'm just really want to check whether or not you've consulted the British Transport Police. Similarly, obviously the bus station the Hertford bus station is in close proximity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. No, we haven't. However, we are always open to working with any authorities. So if there are issues, then we want to know about them.
Thank you. Any supplementary, Councillor Simon?
No, thank you.
Yeah, okay. You can turn your video off now if you like. You're taking us on a tour of wherever you are. Thank you. Right. Have we got any questions from the officers present? Victoria, have you got anything else you wish to question?
No, thank you, Chair.
No. And Brad, any questions from you?
No, thank you.
No. Democratic Services, you're all happy to?
No, thank you, Chair.
Right, great. So the responsible authorities haven't put in any representation, so we'll move on to the other parties and ask a representative from Hertford Town Council to do their submissions, please.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Who is talking now? Because was it Nick talking, or was...
I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to introduce the representation from Hertford Town Council, and then if Councillor Simon as the chairman wishes to add something else afterwards, that's probably the best way. That's okay. The Town Council's planning subcommittee considered the application and had some concerns really around sort of the public nuisance potentially caused on Friday and Saturday nights. Beyond as the application extends the hours beyond the normal public house opening and closing times. It's that time between 11 and 12 o'clock where people may leave pubs and then go and get some alcohol. And potentially also in terms of the actual location of the store to some of the public open space such as Harton Common, where there has been problems in the past and due to groups gathering there, antisocial behaviour, evidence of various crimes and criminal activity, and the concerns that this may obviously, the addition of alcohol may cause further problems in that location. That's in terms of Friday and Saturday night. In relation to Sunday opening hours, the committee just felt that the arrangements should be in line with the store opening hours as per Sunday's training. Thank you. I don't know if Councillor Cinnamon wishes to add something.
Thank you. Councillor Cinnamon, do you have anything to
add? Chair, thank you very much. Nick has very well summarised our views, but there's one other impact that I think needs to be considered, and that is at the moment that late night alcohol is provided by a number of dispersed small off licenses spread around the town. And our view is that this will provide a bit of a magnet to attract people to come and buy cheap alcohol at Tesco's late at night, and that will contribute to the public nuisance. At the moment, people may buy some alcohol on the way home or whatever, but there are a number of small outlets that provide that amenity for people, and this will create, if you like, a draw to actually get late night drinkers sort of congregating around Tesco's. Now, although there have been no necessary reported incidents within the store, the issue is the proximity, as mentioned, the proximity to Harton Park, where there's been problems, and also, as I've already mentioned, the transport hubs. So it would obviously impact those small retailers as well in terms of loss of business for them, and that does present a concern for the planning subcommittee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm just rewriting that down. Thank you very much, Councillor. Right. Does the applicant have any questions, please, for Hertford Town Council?
Am I able to respond to some of the issues that were raised? Am I able?
I believe so. Democratic Services?
Usually cover it off in closing statements, Chair, but it's up to you.
Okay.
I can do it in the closing statement if you like, that's fine.
All right. So have you got any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Members of the panel, have you got any questions? Councillor Reid?
No, only the same. Only the same as what we discussed in the breakout with the Sunday hours.
Okay, yep. So that's the applicant has already raised those, and presumably will also include it within the their closing. Councillor Simon?
No, thank you.
Questions? No, thank you. Officers, have you got any questions? Victoria? No. Brad? Questions? Will shaking his head. No, great, thank you. So if everyone's content, we'll move on to closing statements. We can't have any new evidence or statements for just the closing. Are we happy with that? Everyone to proceed with that? Brilliant. So the applicant, obviously, you will go last and get the final word. So we'll start with Nick, do you want to do from Hertford Town Council? Do you want to do a closing statement, please? No?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Nothing further to add. All right, thank you. No responsible authorities. So it's over to the applicant for their closing statements. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you very much, Chair. So I'll just reiterate that we will network and work really closely with any of the stakeholders, any key people. So that could be the British Transport Police, the bus depot, the police, residents, to support the local community, so that we're doing the right thing. There's our shoppers that come in and buy alcohol do so as a part of their main shopping. There will be some that will buy alcohol only, but generally it's a store where shopping is a part of alcohol is a part of a larger basket. And just to kind of get rid of any concerns, we are kind of aware of what's going on outside of the store, not just what's going on inside of the store, and we'll make kind of appropriate decisions as necessary. The impact on other retailers, and I'm sure your legal advisor will let you know, is irrelevant to the licensing application, and it is only a few extra hours that we're asking for in the overall in the overall scheme of things. We're not asking, it's not a 20, we've already got a number of hours, and we're just looking to extend them to support our opening hours in most of the areas. So we you know, again, it's a well-run store, it's a well-run operation, and we don't have any evidence, or no evidence has been put forward to us for any of the public nuisance issues or any of the crime and disorder that's been spoken about. And again, if that is an issue, we will absolutely work with the relevant parties to support so that that's not happening. We originally applied for a 24-hour license, and the police have come forward with their concerns and asked us to change the hours, which we have done so. So the police again haven't objected to this license, and we just ask you just to you know, give necessary weight to that. And again, there needs to be good reasons or evidence to kind of restrict, and it's not a presumption under the Licensing Hour Act to restrict if there is no good evidence. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the panel, have you got any points that you require for clarification before we move to the breakout rooms?
No.
No. Councillor Simon?
No, thank you.
Right. Okay, so that finishes that evidence, and we will move to the breakout rooms. It'll be the same people coming with us, so there are legal and services and the democratic services will come with us. Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. we made it. Oh, that's good. I love it when that happens. There's no sign of Brad. That's worrying. Okay.
Are you in touch with Brad, Victoria?
Yeah, I just messaged him to say that we're coming back.
That's a relief. It's good to see you, Brad. You are muted, Brad. If you're talking to us, you are muted.
Sorry, all rooms will be closed in 25 seconds.
Thank you. Right, we've got everyone back. We've got everyone necessary back. Oddish, you can hear us, can you? Great. Okay. The Licensing Subcommittee listened to the comments of the Senior Licensing and Enforcement Officer and the applicant, and the subcommittee have taken into account the concerns of the interested party. Subcommittee has decided to grant the application subject to additional conditions. The additional conditions are as follows. Licensed hours on Sundays are not from 9 AM to 5 PM. The subcommittee feels that this is a balanced and proportionate time period to allow flexibility within the legal trading hours permitted under the Sunday Trading Act 1994, and also taking into account the current licensed hours. Secondly, the seasonal variation of 24-hour alcohol sales between the 13th of December and the 2nd of January each year is granted, apart from on Sundays when the existing licensed hours will apply. Christmas Day obviously comes under different rules, and there are no licensing hours permitted, but that's covered in other legislation. In coming to its decision, the subcommittee believes that the applicant has provided evidence that the granting of the license would promote and not undermine the 4 licensing objectives. The subcommittee has also noted the applicant's cooperation with the responsible authority regarding the license hours, and members accepted the applicant's offered condition to network and work with local communities and stakeholders to alleviate any concerns regarding public nuisance and crime and disorder. This decision will be sent to you in writing, and there is the right of appeal within 21 days to a magistrate's court. All right. Has everyone got that? No, don't need anything repeated. Okay, thank you. So moving on to agenda item number 8, which is urgent business. I have received nothing. Will, have you received anything?
No, I'm not aware of anything.
Right, so we have no other urgent business. So that concludes this meeting. Thank you everyone for your time. It's been a very long meeting. Some of us have been here since 9 o'clock. So thank you very much everyone for your time, and that concludes the business. Thank you.